Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs from GundamReviews.net, and Gundam Age Episode 27, the second generation, is in full swing, and this was just an absolutely action-packed episode. I almost don't know where to begin, but let's get on with the show and talk about all the best ofs. Well, here's something I never thought I'd be saying this late into the second generation, but how about the Dorado? Call it whatever you will and then put it in yellow colors, and all of a sudden when Zehart's right-hand man, Daz, is really to push himself to the limit for a chance to take out Flit and stop him from stopping them. Basically, I've never seen the Dorado used so well, although it was pushed to the limits by all the technology inside. And this time I'm going to do a sort of definitely not of the weeks, the Age 1. Here it comes out in its fourth variation, well, that we've seen in the anime anyway, if you forget about the manga for a minute. But basically, after we've had the Titus and the Sparrow, they've had the Flat, which is pretty much the same thing. But they put on a cool red backpack, which was just designed to give it more speed. It brings out a whole bunch of weapons, it drops them under the arms, Vesper style, F91-ish, and then the missiles proceed to do nothing. So the Age 1 was a little bit of a disappointment. However, again, Flit had to push everybody, including fairly major characters, to their limits. But even Dole and the yellow Zedises had their moments in the episode, but I can't believe it, despite the fact that we actually got to see a lot of the Zedora in the Age 2 that I'm going to call MS of the Week, it is going to go to the yellow Dorado. But in terms of character of the week, after their big wedding proposal, oh bright, how about Remy Ruth? She's probably only had about 4 or 5 minutes of screen time in this whole series, and yet anybody who thought Age would not see its fair share of deaths, certainly, well, the 100 years aspect is going to add to it, but just in the last 4 episodes, between Grudek and Wolf, who wasn't even mentioned here, and now you add Remy Ruth on top of that, the body count is certainly adding up V-style. And another character that had me at the edge of my seat was Frederick Algreus, or Flit's assistant, who is of course voiced by Zek Marquise and Mula Flaga, and who doesn't love it when he takes over the battle, sits down in the chair, and is about to reveal the fact that he's betraying everybody, because you figure that somebody with a voice actor of that caliber can't just be second fiddle to Flit for this whole second generation. I figured it was about to be revealed, but then again, with the Batman gambit that seems to be going on, maybe the plan within a plan kept him still in a position of trust, while at the same time furthering ahead the Vegans' ultimate goals of getting to Earth. But ultimately, my characters of the week have to go to these two guys, Asum Asano and Zehart. I have to say that for the first 15 minutes of the episode, I thought this could be a totally no Asum and Asum-less episode, if you will. And all of a sudden, it seemed like a little bit of a throwaway that all of a sudden at the beginning of the battle that these two end up fighting. A whole bunch of action, a whole bunch of plot deaths, and everything in between is happening. And yet at the end, these guys still get to have a 5-minute bonding opportunity, which is something that we haven't really seen since they were back in high school. They've had their moments, but it's all been threatening each other. But post-Wolf's loss, and you can see that Asum's just got that little bit of maturity, they both in the end were willing to sacrifice themselves to save the world, which is very anti-Shar Aznable-ish, especially of a guy piloting a red suit. But it was great to see their maturity as they save each other on a variety of levels. But I can't wait to see how this plays out with their like-hate, and we'll see where it goes from here relationship. There were a lot of great moments in this episode, but you still have to give props to the departed between Daz and Dole, both sacrificing themselves for the leader that they believe in, and for Zehart, and for the Vegans' mission on Earth. Both of them deserve another mention. And another touching moment that just goes to show how much death has crept into the Age storyline here in this second generation. It's not moment of the week or scene of the week, and yet it was still incredibly touching. As we had Remy head out in a ball to do what DK shouldn't be doing, because I suppose he has to be taking care of the Age system. But it goes back to proving the old Gundam adage that you don't want any character development whatsoever, unless you're a main character, because especially things like saying to somebody that you love them, or that you want to get married, well, sadly, it's going to result in sad scenes like the one we saw this week. And no, my moment of the week is not even going to be the long-awaited reconciliation between Zehart and Asum. But no, for me, there is no hesitation, despite all the great stuff that led up to it in the episode. Every once in a while, one thing that I'm pretty pleased about with Age is that there's so many aspects of Gundam that have just been done over and over again. Call them tropes, call them cliches, call them necessary to make it Gundam. But at the end of the day, Gundam is always about space, Earth, space, and I have to give Age credit for the fact that it has completely made me forget about that. But today, seeing the Diva, seeing Zehart in his Zedora head down with Dole's help, seeing the Age 2 double bullet head down, and most importantly, they're all going to be rendezvousing on Earth, and you can just imagine that Char and Garma can't be but far around the corner. Anyway, now that Gundam has moved on to its middle stage in the middle of Earth, you can imagine that the action's only going to pick up. And again, I give them great credit for the fact that they can make you forget about these Gundam necessities, and yet when they throw them at you, all of a sudden it still feels like a little bit of a surprise, and like it's going to be something new. So from here on in, the Earth action is going to begin, and this is truly the hallmarks of the middle portion of a Gundam series. So what an episode overall, all sorts of things changing, fairly major characters dying, and even the ones that are pretty minor still add that little element of emotion. Not to mention the fact that we lost Grudek and Wolf, and like I said, they haven't even mentioned it. This has all been helped by the fact that the soundtrack, the OST, is really picking up. The song that they play for Asim when he's having those big moments is reason enough for me to want to pick up the second soundtrack. I'm not sure if it's out for sale now or if it's out very shortly. Anyway, I'm hoping somebody will post on my front page that when that's out. But think of the things that have been going through in these last few episodes. It's been great. But of more importance to me is something, in terms of future speculation, there were moments in this episode where it looked like this could have been the end of the second generation. Now, maybe that's just me and they're just doing a good job and I'm gullible. But here, the thing with the multi-generations is that at some point they have to go from 2 to 3, and it seemed like for a moment that Zehart and Asim were about to die, and that's why they're not going to be showing up in the third generation, or so it seems. But it all of a sudden gets you to thinking, where if Asim is going to die early, and he's not going to have a son named Kyo all of a sudden could be Asim's sister's son, and all of a sudden it opens up a whole bunch of storytelling possibilities, where now we have calm Asim, who's all of a sudden doing the right things for the right reasons, no longer trying to surpass his father. And just imagine if Asim is to die early on, not make it to the third generation, and Flit is going to have to live with that guilt, and at the same time drive Kyo to be the hero that he needs to be. Anyway, there's just a million story possibilities, and as all of this played out over the course of the episode, I thought it's pretty amazing that you can be watching a show and not know if the protagonist is going to make it through. Now that it's over, of course, I'm like, oh yeah, it's way too early for the third generation to start. But then again, good storytelling, good music, good death scenes, and good action all around, and the promise of so much more. Anyway, everybody, that's my impressions of episode 27. Lots to talk about, because there was just so much thrown in. Age has really picked up. Has your impression of the series changed over time? I was just talking to somebody about the character designs at the beginning and how off-putting that was for me and for quite a few other people. But in terms of storytelling, I'd certainly say that it is picking up the pace, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. So please let me know your impressions. And next week, what the heck is going on? If you saw the previews, you've got a white Age 2. I want to buy the model. I want to know who that new Vegan mobile suit is. I want to buy a yellow Dorado. Yes, Age are doing a great job of making me want to buy models, and Bandai, good storytelling is certainly a great tool in that. Anyway, everybody, we'll see you next week. Can't wait for more of this. Episode 28 next Sunday night. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. No, I'm very serious when I say I cannot wait to see how this is going to play out next week. And yes, I want the model.